Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're a focused learner who really values efficient communication, you are absolutely in the right place today. We're jumping right into a universal frustration. You know the one? That conversation that just goes in endless, exhausting circles. You walk away feeling totally drained, wondering why literally nothing got accomplished. I mean, have you ever been stuck in a yeah, but loop? You know the exact scenario I'm talking about. You offer a perfectly good, totally logical solution to a friend or coworker's problem, and boom, your counterpart instantly shoots it down. Yeah, but that won't work because, right? So you offer another idea. Yeah, but I already tried that. Before you know it, you are 5 solutions deep. Your energy is completely zapped, and you're nowhere closer to actually fixing the issue. It's incredibly frustrating. You're putting in all this effort to help, and it feels like they're just systematically popping every life raft you throw their way. There is this great quote from Thomas Athalia in our source material that hits the nail on the head. He says, "Every solution, regardless of practicality, is met with a similar reply. It is a tactic that kills conversation." And you know, what's really validating about this is that it proves this isn't just a simple miscommunication. And actually, scratch that. It's rarely even just someone being stubborn for the fun of it. When this yeah but thing happens, you are actually being pulled into an unconscious psychological game. The other person isn't deciding to be difficult. They're basically running a script. And without even realizing it, you've been cast in a supporting role. Section 1. Meet your ego states. Okay, to understand why this happens, we rely on the framework of parent, adult, and child ego states. This model identifies specific neural pathways that dictate your mood and behavior during interactions. It teaches you to recognize whether you are currently operating from the parent state, which can be critical or nurturing, the adult state, which is rational and objective, or the child state, which is spontaneous or defensive. Grasping this whole framework is a real game changer, allowing you to understand exactly why certain conversations devolve into those repetitive, dysfunctional loops. We literally slide seamlessly back and forth between these 3 primary roles without even realizing it. Section 2. Brains like Matryoshka dolls. Now, what is truly fascinating here is the physical reality of these interactions. We're not just speaking metaphorically. Ego states aren't just abstract ideas or quirky little personality traits. They are literal neural pathways physically existing within your brain. Our childhood conditioning actually shapes our brain's physical structure, completely hardwiring our conversational defaults early on. So every time you were praised or corrected as a kid, your brain built a highway for that specific response. And now, as an adult, those highways are paved, they are heavily trafficked, and they are incredibly easy to merge onto whenever a conversation gets even a little bit stressful. Think of these pathways like Matryoshka dolls, the Russian nesting dolls. Formed in early childhood, they are highly complex and deeply, deeply nested within each other. They just hide inside your brain, completely unconsciously, waiting for a specific interaction to trigger them and suddenly dictate your conversational reactions. So you might think you're responding to the words your coworker is saying right now, in this exact room, but neurologically, a deeply nested part of your brain might be reacting to a completely different dynamic from decades ago. It's wild. You open one doll and another one is just waiting right inside. Moving on to section 3, the parent and the child. I want you to picture a specific coworker, friend, or maybe a family member that you've had this exact dynamic with. Got them in your head? Okay, first consider the 2 sides of the parent state, which unconsciously mirrors the authority figures from our past. We have the critical parent, they're bossy, demanding, fault-finding, rigid. But on the flip side, the nurturing parent is gentle, forgiving, considerate, and helpful. If you've ever felt yourself unconsciously lecturing someone, or maybe swooping in to rescue them from a problem they could easily solve themselves, well, that is your parent state taking the wheel. You've naturally adopted the tone and posture of the authority figures you observed growing up. Then, on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, we have the child states. The free child is spontaneous, artistic, adventurous, but the adapted child, they're defensive, argumentative, complaining, and anxious. And here is the absolute crucial takeaway for us today. That frustrating, yeah, but loop, it is almost always someone in an adapted child state unconsciously seeking attention or validation from a parent figure, which, spoiler alert, is the exact role you've unwittingly stepped into. They don't actually want a solution. They want the interaction. The yeah but is really just a mechanism to keep you engaged, to keep you actively playing the part of their nurturing or critical parent. Which brings us to section 4, activating the adult state. So once you realize you're playing a rigged game, your primary goal is to shift into the adult state. This is your rational anchor. What's absolutely vital here is how the adult state operates purely in the present, entirely free of that past childhood conditioning we just talked about. It's characterized by being rational, meaning it's logical, precise, clear thinking. It is objective, fair-minded, realistic, reasonable. And most importantly, it is present, alert, efficient, unemotional. It simply refuses to get dragged into the drama. The adult state looks at the facts on the ground, assesses them without anxiety or superiority, and just responds accordingly. Section 5. Breaking the cycle. All right, so how do we actually put this into practice? Here is your step-by-step guide to short-circuiting the game. Step 1. Listen. Really tune your ear to those descriptive adjectives in real time. Are they sounding bossy, defensive, or rational? And hey, pay close attention to your own internal monologue too. Step 2. Recognize the dynamic. Identify that unconscious parent-child loop in the moment and remind yourself, okay, we aren't actually solving a problem right now, we are acting out old pathways. Finally, step 3. Shift. Intentionally shift your response into the unemotional adult state. By staying logical and present, you refuse to play the parent to their child. You might simply state the facts or ask a neutral question. And without a willing participant to play the corresponding role, the whole dysfunctional loop just quickly collapses. And that brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought to leave you with today. I want you to think of your last really frustrating argument. Which ego state was actually doing the talking? Was it your adult, or were you unconsciously sliding right into a parent or child role? Honestly, analyzing your own neural pathways is the absolute first step to mastering your interactions. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep reflecting on those conversations, and I'll see you next time.